Greetings. Hello, beautiful people of Inside Timer. Hello, welcome to today's live session. Hello, hello. And I'm feeling a lot of magic in the air today, a lot of energy, a lot of alignment, a lot of realizations, a lot of eye openings, a lot of looking in the mirror and stepping up and taking the responsibility to implement and make changes in one's life. I'm excited about today's life because I really have no clue how it's going to go, but I felt called to have a conversation about magic because it is a word that I throw around a lot, and it is a word that I've chosen to include in my daily vocabulary, a word that I have decided to bring into my life. And sometimes I think it triggers people, or sometimes people have a block against this word magic, especially, of course, if you're coming from a religious perspective. And I guess I just wanted to clarify or to open up a little conversation, a little back and forward around what is magic? What do I mean when I say magic? What different forms of magic can we think of? And how can we begin to believe in magic if we want to? Of course, if you don't like the word, you don't have to use it. And how can we begin to work with magic in a more conscious way? I guess I want to invite you to share in the comments here what your viewpoint is on magic. How do you define magic? What do you think it is? Do you think it's something that you have access to? Do you think it's something that you already utilize? Do you believe in magic, right? And yeah, what kinds of definitions can we unpack here? Of course, I'm going to share with you my personal view on magic and how I see it. And I really don't see magic as something that one needs to believe in or not. I personally, let me wait and see what you guys say before I tell you what I say, because I don't want to affect what you're going to say. Crystal, we are all magical. Yes, we are, darling. This is definitely how I see it, right? Sherry, I feel it, but not sure how to define it. You know, one of the problems around defining things is that we then box things into like a category, and we think we understand it through that definition. So I think it's also important to understand that definitions are just like ways to point at things we can't really define with language. Language is actually so inadequate in being able to describe something. So understanding that definitions are always going to be incomplete, I think, is a great first start. So there we go. Magic is my intentions becoming reality. I love that, Dee. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful. Crystal, each special in simply just being. Crystal, I love that, right? We are all magical, just simply in our beingness. Amen. I 100% agree with that. Elizabeth, magic is the spontaneous interaction between my desires and the output of the universe. I love that, Elizabeth. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Really enjoying these definitions coming through. Chantal, magic is multidimensional, and the definition will therefore be different for everyone. Exactly, Chantal. So, of course, when we are playing with words and pointing things with different words and sentences, it's so important to remember that it's never going to be able to encompass the entirety of what magic is, or, of course, when we're talking about any form of definition. And as many of you know, often with my teachings, one of the things I will start with is a critique on labels and words and defining things, right? However, yet they are still so useful because they allow us to have some form of communication between us. So Yes, let's definitely turn it all on its head. Everything that we're playing with today in terms of swimming through a sea of words and symbols is really just playful, and nothing here is set in stone. It's really to actually expand our conception of what magic can be and what it can mean. Erica, I believe in magic. I believe we all have access to magic, and I'm here to learn. I love that, Erica. So I 100% agree with you. I also believe in magic. And I also believe that we all have access to magic. And I'm also here to learn, as always, because, of course, Blue Team is here. Blue Team is always channeling through when I'm in a live space. And while there is, the reading I've done, the practice I've done, the research I've done, the playing I've done in terms of working with magic, there is also always new information that is ready to come through. And of course, I learn from all of you as much as you learn from me. There's always the mirror. And I think in mentioning the mirror, sort of by accident, but maybe not so much by accident, I think the concept of mirrors is one of the most important concepts in terms of magic. Let me just write a note. So I literally have no plan for today's session. I don't actually know how many of you know this at all, but I never have a plan for my lives. I just go. The only preparation I do normally is a bit of meditation and some stretching, asking the blue team to be present, right? Yes, Crystal, the mirrors. So I would love to hear what you all say and feel about the mirror, but I'm sure many of you have heard this concept before, right? The external world is but a mirrored reflection of your internal world, right? And of course, there is the magical axiom, I think they call it an axiom, of as above, so below, as within, so without, is understanding that what is going on within the microcosm is the same as what is going on in the macrocosm. And likewise, what is happening up in the heavens, right? This is also the idea of what astrology is based on, is what is happening down below here in the physical realms. There's always that mirror, right? And I think that the concept of a mirror is really excellent, but and it helps us to begin to tap into the understanding of that. But I think it's always going to be a lot deeper than what we can possibly fathom, especially from the standpoint of our very linear minds and our ability to grasp concepts in this dimension, in this realm, right? Sherry, no plan is often the best plan. Yes, just stepping into trust in the moment that the right things are going to come through, right? Debbie, I'm sure the best teachings come from having no plan. Absolutely. 100%. The thing I've learned is that when I do have a plan, I never stick to it anyway. Of course, when I launch my personal programs, I have an idea of like, this is the work I want to get through. This is the intention of like what I want to teach. These are the practices I want to teach. But how that unfolds is never the way I plan it. I recently released my first course at the beginning of this year, and some of you were in it, and I had planned that out because, of course, it was my first course and I really did not stick to that plan much at all. And now, in launching my second course, which releases starts on Sunday, that I have far less planning done for that, but a lot more energy work. I've done a lot more energy work for it, and I'm very excited about it because it is a course in magic and my personal magic practice, and we will be working together as a collective to align ourselves with the energy of abundance. And I really love this energy of abundance because it's not just about wealth and money, right? At all. In fact, true abundance is really about open-heartedness, right? Abundance of love, abundance of freedom, abundance of joy, right? So it's quite a broad concept, but so fundamental, right? We really are abundant beings, and we so deserve to feel abundance. So I would love to share my personal definition of magic, and it's very simple but very open ended. And the way I define magic is very simply the manipulation or the conscious manipulation of energy, right? Everything is energy, and working of magic is tapping into the working of that energy, right? Understanding how the energy flows, understanding how to shift the energy, and how to essentially affect things in the external realm in terms of what you want, in alignment with what it is that you desire. And when you understand the mirror, right, you understand, well, I can't control everything external out here. I can't control that person or that person or that person or that person. What I can control is me. What I can do is program my own self belief systems, right? And if you believe in that mirrored reflection, and I know all of you have experienced the mirror, right? When you wake up on the wrong side of bed and you stub your toe, everything falls apart the whole day. Nothing can satisfy you. But if you wake up and you're just like, oh, it's a beautiful day, everything just goes your way. That is such a perfect example of how, and it happens quickly, right? It happens really, really quickly. So if you shift this vibration, you shift everything else. Of course, when it comes to um, a lot of it is embedded in the subconscious, right? 95% of your processes are running through the subconscious. Only 5% is conscious, okay? So a lot of the belief systems, a lot of those things that you are automatically calling into your life are being called in through subconscious implanted belief systems, ideas you have about the world around you. And most of those were implanted into your mind before the age of 7, right? Because before the age of 7, your mind is mostly in like a theta or delta state where you are very susceptible. It's like a hypnotic state, very susceptible and impressionable to the world around you. So if you had parents who said things to you like, no, I'm broke, no, you can't have that thing, no, you haven't been good enough, or any of these types of things, or you're naughty, right? You don't deserve this because you've been naughty. Those kinds of ideas can actually embed and become very concretized. Of course, we do have the power to change them, but it's not as simple as just deciding in a conscious way. And this is the power of magic. Hello, Amber. Debbie, yes, absolutely. The abundance of health. Too many being blessed to only material gains and leave out the other beauty. Amen, D, right? So, and I think the abundance of health is real true abundance, right? Because it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, if you don't have health, you can't enjoy your life, right? I think health is one of the most fundamental segments to generate abundance in. So thank you for sharing that. So as I was saying, the practice of magic, and of course there are many forms of magic, some of which will actually say that they practice magic or witchcraft, and some they will call energy work, right? To me, this is the same thing. Energy work is magic. Magic is energy work. Of course, if you don't like the word magic, you don't have to use the word magic. That's just, I like to define things quite broadly. I even think that religion is a form of magic when you pray and align with love, with God, with whichever deities you are working with. That's also a form of magic. in my opinion. Of course, some people prefer to pigeonhole things a little bit more tightly and may even be offended by that, in which case I apologize. You're allowed to have your own definitions. These are just my definitions, or it's my way of seeing. So, you know, magic, and again, there are many ways to explain magic, and many ways to think of magic, or to speak through layers of metaphor with magic. But one of the popular ways, which I think is actually defined as chaos magic, sees the world as essentially like a sea of symbols. Now, no one is claiming that there isn't more to the world than a sea of symbols, right? So it's not around saying, oh, that's all there is only symbol, but it's just one way of seeing, one way of viewing. And I think it's always very useful to be able to, take this pair of glasses and look through this lens, and then you can put that down and you can pick up another pair of glasses and look through another lens. And it's not to say that one way of seeing is superior to another. It's useful for different ways, but this is a very useful way to look through a lens, to see the world in terms of understanding magic. And I hope that sort of nuance makes sense to you. All right, so everything is symbolic. The world is a sea of symbols, right? The universe is a sea of symbols. And again, this is a lot of how divination works, right? Because divination is the ability to look out at the world as symbolic and to pick out meaning from those symbols, to layer meaning and to understand, well, the world will speak in a symbolic language to me, and I can tap into that stream of consciousness in understanding that symbols are going to show up in a language that I understand. So my personal symbols will jump out at me in full sentences, if that makes sense. So this is quite abstract. And at any point, please let me know if you would like further clarity, right? Sherry, yes, prayer is simply another form of meditation. I do agree with that as well. But I also think that one can define prayer as incantation, right? Do you know the word incantation? Let me define it just in case. But an incantation is essentially magic words, right, that call in presence. Okay, and of course, word is one of those very powerful ways to create. Word is seen as very powerful in magic, right? There are all sorts of if you look at it in a spell book, for example, a lot of the time there'll be all these intricate actions you must take, and potions you must mix, and then you must speak specific words over it, because of course words have vibration, and words are symbol, right? Symbol. And I think it's quite important also to understand that, when we're looking at the world as this sea of symbol, one has to understand how a symbol works, right? Because there is the signifier, the signified, and the person who is interpreting, right? There are all these things, and the symbol is not necessarily the thing. It's like understanding that the word is not actually the word, right? And understanding, the word points to this concept, this idea that we can't really pin down. And that is a lot of where that sort of soup of magic lies, right? So if you bring into your life and surround yourself with symbols, right, that to you personally align with what it is that you're wanting to call in, then that's what you call in, right? That's what you feel, that's what you tap into. And it's understanding that symbol holds a real vibration, right? You think about the power of a symbol. How many of you, if you see the shape of a Coca-Cola bottle, immediately know what that symbolizes, right? Every single one of us knows that that's a Coke bottle, right? That's a powerful symbol. And for many of those who are quite addicted to Coca-Cola, they will actually get a craving for it. Why? Right? There we go, Alex. Me too. I love working with sigils. It's very powerful. I love symbol. As a fine arts student, for me, it's an incredibly potent form of magic. And I like to add personally another layer to that. I like to work with a combination of sigil and servitor. Um, and I would love to hear if anyone knows what a servitor is. And I would also love to hear your definitions of sigil, and then I'll unpack. And, again, I think it's so important to acknowledge, to point out, to say, right, there is my definition of symbol, sigil, servitor, and that doesn't mean it's the only definition, because you are allowed to have your own way of working, you are allowed to have your own views. So just because I say this is my definition doesn't mean you have to take it on, and doesn't mean that yours is wrong. So there isn't any right or wrong here. There's just what resonates for me, what resonates for you. And so, I think we live in a universe that is broad enough, big enough for multiple ways of being, right? And I think the most potent question to ask yourself when working with definitions is it empowering? Does it serve me? Because maybe if it doesn't, then maybe you should consider changing the idea, changing the definition, and shifting the belief, right? And how many of you have recognized problematic beliefs that were probably handed to you by your parents, right, before the age of 7, and you've consciously gone, I don't believe that, and you've started to try and shift that, but yet still sometimes the actions, right, the actions show up later, and you're like, oh, this action shows me that I haven't actually fully integrated this idea that I'm worthy. And maybe it's because you were told you can't have this thing because you're naughty, right? And that can't go hand in hand with this idea of I'm worthy, right? I'm inherently good. I'm inherently worthy of love, of gifts, of support, of education, of abundance, of joy, of healthy relationships, of health, right? How many of you have tried to shift some of those belief systems, and I'm sure you've been successful with some of them, but I'm sure that all of you have one or two that are just kind of stubbornly like, I'm back, I'm back, right? And of course it takes some consistency. It's not just about casting one little spell and then it's over, right? We got to, casting the spell or working with the symbol and bringing the sigil in and working with the servitor or whatever it is, whatever form of magic you're working with, whether that even just be I'm going for hypnosis, or I'm working with energy medicine, or I'm working with affirmation, whatever magical tools you're bringing in. How many of you still have one of those beliefs that is just like, I'm not going anywhere, babes, I'm still here, right? And there's almost that sense of frustration around like, when will I be free of this one? Alex, so for me, a sigil is creating a symbol out of words to call in consciously. Yes, Alex, so that's a great way to make a symbol, a sigil. So for me, I'll just give you my working definition. A sigil is a symbol that is created consciously with a specific magical purpose, to invoke or create or call in some kind of energy. Okay, using the word and breaking the word down and then creating that into an image, this is one way of making a sigil. So it's quite a popular way. I'm assuming that this is how you do it. So for example, and for those of you who don't know, you can take, say, the word love. Right, there we have the word love. I wonder if it's showing backwards for you, but anyway. And then we might go, okay, well, there's my L, there's my O, right? There's my V, and maybe I want to do an E like this. There's my E. So now I've created a symbol. Maybe I want to redraw it a few times, make it look a bit nicer, and really refine it down a bit, and then you can do some kind of ritual around this. Maybe place it on your altar. Maybe you will take it with you and meditate sitting on top of it and really meditate on that feeling of love and make it clear to the universe, this is the feeling that is associated with this symbol, and now I'm going to call that in. So, you know, there again is no right or wrong way in being able to create symbols. You can also just go into a trance, enter into the feeling of the thing you're wishing to invoke and create, and then draw while you're in the trance and create your symbol from that space. Okay, so that's another route. You know, there are so many ways to create the symbol, but personally, for me, the most potent and important way to energize that symbol is really through going into a very deep trance and really emulating the feeling, because feeling is so much more powerful than just thought, right? And often feeling will follow thought, but it's, you know, there's a big difference when we're sitting down, you know, even if we're saying affirmation, which of course is another way of working with the power of words in invocation, right? And you know, if I sit and go, I love and approve of myself, I love and approve of myself, I love and approve of myself, you can see I'm not feeling that at all. It really is not very powerful. It then is just words. But when I go, I love and approve of myself, and then maybe I hug myself, and then maybe I do something that makes me feel the love, or maybe I call in the image of my cat who I love so much, and then I say it again, you know, and I imagine the love that my cat feels for me when my cat sits on my lap, right? And I really tap into that feeling of love, right? That's much more powerful. Okay, so really bringing the feeling in, really energizing. And of course, when it comes to working with magic, a lot of the time we're talking about a form of ceremony, right? And what is the point of ceremony? It is so that we can raise power, so that we can feel that that intention is being energized. So if I just draw a sigil and I'm like, okay, there, you know, that's going to have less energy, less power than if I go through a 45-minute ceremony with that sigil and I dance and raise power from the ground, right? And again, this is also one of the powerful aspects of meditation, in particular that of visualization, because what we visualize with our imaginations is how we direct energy. So if we're calling energy from the earth and using a vision to call it in, and we're calling from above, from the stars, and we're calling that in, and then we're imbuing that into a sigil that's maybe sitting in our hands, or that we're drawing into the air, whatever it is, right? Far more powerful, because we're sending all of that energy consciously using our ability to visualize, right? Erica, I do not know those terms, but I love symbols and I use them for myself. Yes, Erica, sigil is a very specific word. And, I haven't researched the etymology of the word, but I do know that there is a runestone called sigil, which means, and so again, I don't know if this is the root of the word sigil, but it might be. Um, it means expansion. It's connected with the sun. It's connected with the heart. It's connected with fire. It's connected with transmutation. But it's really a joyful, expansive, successful kind of transmutation, not really the difficult kind of transmutation, which would be associated with a different one of those symbols. And it looks like this over here. So sigil, that might be the root of the word. It may or may not. Okay, so again, I haven't done research. Please just take anything I say with a pinch of salt. It's just a discussion for prying open the mind and allowing loose concepts to form and to swim, and allowing ourselves to feel into new, expanded, different kinds of ways of working. And I think this is, one of those things where I really have always had a very self-authoritative stance when it comes to spiritual practices, magical practices. I've always been very self-authoritative, and it's something I highly recommend, right? Because you give your power away when you let someone else define things for you. You can listen to someone else's definition of something without taking it on as yours. And that's really, really a powerful space to be in, right? A very powerful space to be in is just to, okay, let's listen to that. And then later you can just go, no, it doesn't work for me. And that's fine, right? That's really fine. Sherry, definitely changing my beliefs the last 8 years or so. It's such potent work. There is honestly no, let me find the right words. There is no nobler cause than to shift your own belief systems in alignment with your highest good and highest intentions, right? Because best gift you can give the world is to step into your power and to believe in yourself, right? Emil, I think a lot of people will recognize this. I'm not sure what you were referring to there, but I hopefully something enjoyable. Alex, consistency and inner work, and also healers. Doing it alone takes a lot longer. Yes, Alex, it is phenomenal to have people who help us to step through the doorways that we must step through alone. And I think this is something I've said many times about healers and being a healer is like, you can't expect someone to just come and heal you. You have to be an active participant in that. You have to allow that. So you can't, even a doctor, right? A Western doctor, you go to the doctor, and if you go to the doctor with all of this resistance of like, they can't help me, they can't help you, right? But if you go in and go, I'm here to facilitate this healing process for myself in the guidance and support of this system, then healing can take place, right? So yes, working with others, very, very potent. And also, of course, when you go see a Reiki healer and say, I'm intending to let go of this, you're saying to the universe, I believe in my healing process. I'm willing to take action steps to shift these things. And I'm willing to align myself with the energy that I want to call in, right? So you're saying it's just a very potent way to say, I'm ready, right? And likewise signing up for a program, right? And saying I'm ready to reprogram my thoughts, to reprogram my belief system, to learn this potent form of magic, right? Jonathan, beautiful. Sherry, ooh, I didn't know the term sigil, but I do that. There we go, Sherry, as well, right? I've done this my whole life and only learned the terminology later on, in terms of, oh, I mean, I've been making my own magical symbols my whole life. And I think for me, walking the path of magic, witchcraft, paganism, druidism, shamanism, etc. For me, it's the same path. All of it's the same path. I've always been my own authority on that path, and it's really just been the discovery that I always was that. I always was magical. I always was doing that, and all I'm doing is learning new languages, new symbols, and new nuances of how to describe what it is that I am doing, right? Megan just jumped in and loves sigils. In the coven, we put sigils on eggs and bury them for the spring equinox. I love that, Megan. What a beautiful symbolic way to plant seeds, right? And of course, an egg is kind of like a seed, isn't it? And it holds all of that idea of new birth and nourishment. And of course, it's also good for the ground. It's nourishing for the ground. Very potent. Thank you for sharing that. Liz, life is a journey, not a destination. It's a bumper sticker saying, but it's honestly so true. And sometimes I say these things as well, and it truly is, because we're never going to be at the destination. We are just on this eternal journey through infinity. And that's it. We are infinite beings. We're never going to be done. We're always going to be growing and expanding and reaching for better definitions of who we are, right? So we got to learn to be satisfied with where we are within that expansion process. Blessings and beautiful. Isn't it just magical that we can connect across these different spaces? So I really feel very grateful for the conversation that has unfolded today. I'm very excited to work with magic, to share magic in a teaching way as well, which of course is the program I'm currently launching. So of course, if any of you feel called to join that, please do reach out. This is true abundance. This is true abundance. I love it. Ah, gorgeous humans. Oof, as I said that, the clock was on 9911. And we've got 199 people present. So yeah, divine numerology showing up. I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who have donated today. Thank you for making this session possible. I'm so deeply grateful to be connected with each and every one of you. I'm so grateful for the conversation. I'm so grateful to be present with you. I'm so grateful for this platform. Thank you, Insight Timer. Thank you to your guides who have led you here today. Thank you for connecting in and contributing. Thank you for being on your healing journey. And of course, if you have resonated today and if you're new to the space, please do hit follow. It would be amazing to stay connected with you and to see you again on another live. It would be amazing if you joined us in our group, LunAscention, or of course, if you wanted to connect in any other spaces as well. Deeply, deeply grateful for who you are and how you show up, and just for being here. And of course, to those of you who don't know me, my name's Carla. I'm a psychic. Today was a conversation, but normally I'm doing mini readings or group channeling sessions. I channel a group of higher dimensional light beings whom I refer to as the blue team. Many of you know the blue team already. And I just feel so grateful to be on this path and to be following this calling. So thank you for crossing paths with me, with deep love, with deep gratitude. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Ref J. Blessings to the blue team. Thank you, Lynn. Blessings. Oh, thank you so much, April. Beautiful to have you all here. And of course, if any of you feel called to come and journey with me and tap into a beautiful form of magic, please reach out. It would be amazing if you wanted to join that session with me. We're doing a 5-month journey. So many, many blessings, lots of love with deep gratitude. Goodbye to you all.